Until now, you may have been able to avoid contact with Trumpists. Going forward, you'll probably want to avoid it even more. Still, Trumpists may be more in your face than ever, gloating about winning and imposing their demands. Or like me, you might feel obligated to interact with them more since this week, Trumpists are the majority voting bloc. I bet you're surprised that they're the majority. Not just discouraged, but flummoxed. Like, what the fuck? Who are we anyway? You're right to be flummoxed. It's unprecedented. Many jerks have risen to dictatorship spouting bullshit bravado, but never before someone as prepubescent as Trump. He won his majority talking like a pimply, petulant, teenage underachiever who will never get laid. What the fuck? All the more reason you wouldn't want to interact with his supporters, and you have that option. Say what the fuck and leave it at that. Shrug, say you'll never understand them like they're some different species and try to avoid them. I'm anxious, but I've been cultivating a habit that's coming along nicely. I channel anxiety into curiosity and productivity. I invite you to run with that what the fuck as a real, not rhetorical question. What is it that would entice a majority of voters to bet the future of our country on a spoiled, petulant dipshit imitating a second-grade problem child? It's a really good question, as is what to do about it. If you end up dealing with them, and I bet you will, your challenge is figuring out how to get them thinking again. How to open a Trumpist's vacuum-sealed mind at its weakest point. How to reinfect them with even the tiniest microdose of humble human curiosity. Not even curiosity about what you think, curiosity about anything, because at present they have none. None at least about the big picture, politics and reality itself. Trumpists are absolutists. Absolutists are all the same. It doesn't matter what costume they wear or lifestyle brand they cheer. Absolutists have purged their minds of all curiosity. Their minds are absolutely closed. Absolute originally meant dissolved away from all possible influences. Absolute power corrupts absolutely because nothing can influence it. The what of what the fuck is absolutism. What to do about it is the question of the hour, though I argue it's always been the question since the dawn of civilization. The evidence is in conflict with absolutists, we suck. Though it's easy to see why. Absolutists will say or do anything to avoid human humility. My big question of the hour is what the fuck to do to get them curious again. This is my question, and I hope you'll join me in wondering about it. How to humbly humble humans who will say or do anything to avoid human humility. How do you open a mind that is dedicated to nothing other than staying closed? This is a really hard question. I have guesses, not answers. I'm confident that if we don't get better at answering that question, civilization is doomed. To do anything about it, we need to know what makes them tick like time bombs. We really have to understand how it feels to be a Trumpist. So it's the opposite of that smug, I'll never understand them thing. Be brave. Try to understand them so you can figure out how to undermine them. If you're trying to undermine them, don't worry. They won't contaminate you. I've been wondering about this for about 30 years. I wrote a book called What's Up with Assholes. In 2015, the Washington Post interviewed me about an article I'd written on Trumpian psychology back in 2005. Though I've got a master's in public policy and a PhD in decision science and can handle nitpicky details, I've come to believe that what's going on with them is incredibly simple and generic. It's easy and rewarding to be an absolutist if you can get away with it, as the Trumpists are. Anyone can do it. Just get good at deflecting challenges and declaring yourself the best no matter what. Say anything, and no matter what you say, give yourself an A for being a genius and give an F for being an idiot to anyone who challenges you. No matter what you do, and you can do anything, give yourself an A for being a saint and give an F for being a villain to anyone who challenges you. No matter how often you fail, and you can fail lots, give yourself an A for being a mighty, superhero, and give an F for being a loser to anyone who beat you. As long as you play supreme judge, you can declare yourself the winner no matter what. And you are the supreme judge. Why? Because you give yourself straight A's. For example, since being a hypocrite is bad, you give yourself an A for not being one. You have perfect integrity because you say so. Of course, you are a total hypocrite. You just declare that you aren't one because you're always right and righteous. You just keep saying, that proves I'm smart. That proves I'm good. That proves I'm strong. Just keep declaring yourself the winner. Keep doing that and nothing but that, and you'll end up an absolutist. You know, like the Trumpists. Trump has gotten away with that idiot's delight of a formula all of his life. He's a one-trick phony, and that's his trick. No matter what, he just keeps deflecting challenges and declaring himself the winner. Some psychologists sift through his history, searching for the chip on his shoulder. No doubt he has one. We all do. Having a chip on your shoulder is a human thing. It's because we can imagine the ideal and compare ourselves to it. Still, what compels Trump forward isn't his search for his parents' love. It's that his one-trick phony formula has always worked. He keeps getting away with it. He ran on nothing but getting away with declaring himself right, righteous, and mighty no matter what. He had no policies, really, none that he cared about. He had that formula, and that's all he needed. Voters flocked because being an absolutist is so tempting and so easy. We talk about how he's always been a narcissist and now he's senile too. True, but I'm more interested in what I'll call the dumbass death spiral, which anyone can dive or get sucked into at any age. Being dumb and being an asshole reinforce each other. If you're dumb, you'll be tempted to be a jerk. Cornered with something you don't understand, you'll feel like a chump. It hurts to feel like a chump, so you'll be tempted to throw tantrums. It's a human thing. Can you feel it? Have you ever thrown a tantrum because you feel like a chump because you don't understand something? I have. Have you ever gotten pissed that our world isn't simpler? Have you ever felt like, what the fuck? I demand to talk to the manager. Things shouldn't be this hard and someone besides me is to blame. Have you ever lashed out at someone because you're disappointed? I'm saying feeling dumb motivates behaving like an ass. That's one side of the death spiral. The other side is that when we're being tantrum-throwing assholes, we can't afford to think. We'll want to stay dumb and incurious. Our tantrums are most credible if we're confident. Thinking kills confidence. Stupidity reinforces confidence. Admitting that you don't know what you're talking about is not going to make your tantrum convincing. Dumb feeds assholery, and assholery depends on staying dumb, numb, and incurious. It's no wonder people toss themselves down this dumbass death spiral. Expect people to do it more and more as the world becomes ever more incomprehensibly complex. We're in for a lot of dumbass death spiral, what the fuck absolutism. The dumbass death spiral is the problem. People fall down it and it's hard as hell to get them to come up out of it. They wouldn't want to. It would mean admitting that they were being dumbasses. It's fun as hell down there. It's as fun as being addicted to heroin, a drug so named because it makes people feel like heroes. The dumbass death spiral is cheaper and more satisfying than heroin. Hell, you don't even have to learn how to shoot drugs into your veins. Why would anyone ever want to give up absolutism? We try to convince ourselves that absolutists, gaslighting narcissists for example, are miserable and doomed. It's like how we say crime doesn't pay. We hope it doesn't pay, but it does. Sure, some people become absolutists because they're destitute and miserable. Some become absolutists because they're spoiled and pampered. The pampered often lead the destitute into absolutism. Trump and Musk, for example, inviting millions of stragglers into the dumbass death spiral. Whatever reason someone becomes an absolutist, being one is not miserable and doomed. You might wish it were, but we have to be realistic. If one can get away with it, absolutism pays handsomely, just like crime. Our challenge is how to keep absolutists from getting away with it without becoming absolutists in the process. Again, my question, how do you humbly humble humans who will say or do anything to avoid human humility? It's easy to become an absolutist, and it's tempting as hell. Once you become an absolutist, you're free from all thought, and therefore all anxiety, doubt, ambivalence, and uncertainty. With dumbass tantrums, you offload those burdens onto anyone who challenges you. They're crazy, evil, and weak for not agreeing with you. Absolutist means you never have to say you're sorry. You never have to say, I don't get it, except when you're pretending someone must be crazy for not agreeing with you. Trump spent his entire life getting away with it. He has fallen to the very bottom of the dumbass death spiral. In him, we see the lowest point, the prepubescent ravings of someone whose brain has rotted away completely at the lowest point in the dumbass death spiral. Though it disgusts us, that doesn't prove that we necessarily know better than to fall down it ourselves. And it sure doesn't mean everyone finds it repulsive. There's something in all of us that craves to be on the winning side. It doesn't matter what we're winning, it's just better to feel like a winner than a loser. I call it luckism, a universal fundamental prejudice towards associating with lucky over unlucky people. Good and bad luck are contagious, and we'd rather be lucky than unlucky. Trump declares himself the winner no matter what. People are drawn to winners. To his supporters, he looks like a guy with an eternal winning streak. Even when he's losing, he's winning. I mean, the guy is just incredible. He can do no wrong. You can tell that's true because he tells you he can do no wrong, and after all, he must be right about that because he can do no wrong. Do you see how tempting and easy it is to become an absolutist? Can you find in yourself that same appetite? Do you now recognize why it's so hard to know how to penetrate an absolutist shell and squeeze a little curiosity out of them? Do you now recognize why it's so hard to drag someone up out of the dumbass death spiral? And that we must try to suck less at it? In a word, can you see why I'm happy to keep struggling with this fundamental make it or break it question? How do you humbly humble humans who will say and do anything to avoid human humility? If so, good. For civilization to survive, we need more people curious about this challenge, not falling for the assumption that being an absolutist is miserable and doomed. No, it's fun, and only doomed if we doom it. Not falling for the assumption that Trumpists and absolutists are like a different species. No, they're human, and any of us could become one for any cause or lifestyle. Do you see that we can't just ignore them and they'll go away? They won't. Ignoring them enables them. Are you ready to stop pretending that what we're doing is working well enough? It's not working well enough. Not just here, but around the world, everywhere that absolutism epidemics break out. Can you stop pretending that just reasoning with them will get them off their addiction? They deflect all challenges and declare themselves the winners no matter what. They're immune to all reasoning and curiosity. Our defeat is a terrible time to take on new burdens, but this was the burden all along. How to squeeze even just a drop of curiosity out of these humans who get absolutely comfy cozy simply by deflecting all challenges and declaring themselves the winners no matter what. They keep popping up in your family, at work, in the public square, throughout history, in world politics. As long as they get away with it, we won't be able to address our many other ginormous threats, the climate crisis, nukes, war, pandemics. We've got to learn as fast and carefully as possible how to keep them from getting away with it. Maybe you feel disoriented after the election, like you need to find your focus, a mission that makes you feel like you're contributing somehow to making the world livable for future generations. I'm arguing this should be it. You might be tempted to take on a smaller cause, maybe even a counter-dogma you can get absolutist about. There are so many to choose from, and they all afford us ways to give ourselves A's. I'm inviting you to get curious about how to eke out a thimbleful of curiosity in the absolutely incurious. People who, no matter what they do or say, declare themselves a winner, so they don't have to be curious. I'm trying to figure out how to break the cycle, dogma after dogma, absolutist epidemic after absolutist epidemic. Our prospects are poor, but I think it's the only way civilization can survive. Reality won't tolerate much more absolutism. We've burned through the fat of the earth. We can't just keep closing our eyes to reality and declaring ourselves the winners no matter what. We don't just have to get along with each other and reassure ourselves that we're great. We have to get along with reality because it always wins in the end. It's unimpressed and unresponsive to delusions of absolute grandeur from anyone. We have to stop sucking at humbling humans who will say and do anything to avoid human humility, the humility that motivates curiosity. I hope you'll stay with me, cornering ourselves with this, the most difficult and important question civilizations ever face. And thank you for watching.